Welcome to our last 2026 Travels with Tulsans. We've had a really good season, and thank you, all of you who've come to other events, and we're going to have a wonderful one today. I'm Marion Sexton, and we're glad you've come. And if you would like more information about becoming a friend of the library, of the Tulsa City County Libraries, we have some information over here for you to fill out and send in. We're a really energetic group that does an awful lot for the libraries. Our traveler today, sharing his Norwegian and North Sea adventures, is Steve Platner. He's standing right there. Steve loves to travel, whether it is within our state or the wider world. He would be hard-pressed to pick a favorite spot. But if you ask him, he might respond, the next destination. He and his wife Glad have toured Australia, New Zealand, Bulgaria, England, Scotland, Iceland, Canada, Ireland, Europe, and a good deal of the United States. So we'll see what he's going to do next year for us. Most of his traveling have been on their own or with another couple, but cruises have also become more appealing, as have train trips. He is a retired IT guy whose managerial skills have been utilized by American Airlines, a car rental company, and a hospital. He was also a teacher, having taught at TCC and ended his working years at the University of Tulsa. Please help me to welcome Steve Platner.
Okay. To make sure I'm standing in the right spot, right? Oh, hello. Okay. Just to start, anybody here speak Danish?
Oh, yeah.
Icelandic? Norwegian? Western Flemish? Okay, good. That makes it easier when I mispronounce things because you won't know. Okay, the basis of this trip was it was a cruise, and we started. It went across, basically, it started on one side of the Norwegian Sea, and went to the other side, and then down through the North Sea. Let's see. Okay, the North Sea. The books define it as a marginal sea. I had no idea what marginal sea meant, so I looked it up. But basically, it just means it's bounded by other bodies of water or land. So in this case, you can see from the map that it's below Greenland Sea, the Barents Sea, above the North Sea, the Atlantic Sea, and it's bounded by Iceland and Norway. Okay, so we started in a town called, let me see if I can get this right, Akureyra. That's it, Akureyra. The R-E is Bray. Akureyra, Iceland. We actually started in Reykjavik, but I'm skipping that part because there was a presentation a couple of weeks ago on Iceland. So we headed across the the Norwegian Sea in the evening of July 27th. It's approximately 554 miles across. We spent the entire next day and, well, all of the next day, arriving 2 days later at our destination, our first destination. Okay, here's just a few pictures of the North Sea. It's very large, very deep, and in our case, because of our time of year, we did not see the northern lights. The sun doesn't set till 10:30 or 11 at night, and it comes up at 4 or 4:30 in the morning. So it never really got dark. But here's just a few pictures that we took of water, basically. And this one, you might be able to see a couple of structures out there. I'm not sure what those were, whether they were other ships or whether they were oil platforms. Let's see. We were looking at doing this in October, November, but because of weather concerns, the weather and the seas can get quite rough in the wintertime. We moved it back to July. Again, that's just another picture. And you can see birds following our ship. They were everywhere, always. And occasionally they would take a rest on our veranda. All right, just a few more pictures. That doesn't look nearly as good there as it does on my screen. That's the sunset. Here's one. This is about as dark as it got, really, because of the fact that the sun never really completely sets. Okay, our first stop is a town called Alesund. It ends in a D, but there's a little bit of a T sound on the end of it, the way they say it. Again, we traveled about 40 hours to get there, arriving about 11 o'clock in the morning on the 29th. It's a port city right on the west coast of Norway. As you can see, it's surrounded by water. It's on a long peninsula, completely surrounded by water. The population is around 60,000 people. And it's actually the 17th largest city in Norway. Here's a few pictures of arriving that morning. It's really a very beautiful place. You can see the boathouses there along the canal or the ocean. I'm not sure which one that was. Just a couple more pictures. This is the main harbor in the town. Really, it's known for its Art Nouveau architecture. Most of the city burned in around 1904 and was rebuilt. So it looks a very modern looking city. But one of the books I referenced said it offers a blend of fairy tale townscapes, mountains, and sea adventures. The statue is just called the Fisherman, and that's because this is a very big fishing city, and there is a seagull sitting on his head. I think he's always there. Just a few more pictures of this city. Again, you can note all the water everywhere. This is kind of an interesting slide. That's a lighthouse, an old lighthouse. You can see it out there on the point. And it's now a honeymoon suite for the local hotel. And there's a sign on the building asking people to be quiet. And of course, no matter where you go, there was the real American steakhouse. We did not go into the real American steakhouse. Okay, one of our first stops was the place called the Atlantic Park. That writing on the building actually says Atlantic Sea Park. Parkin is park. It's a very large aquarium, one of the largest in the country. And this picture actually shows where it's located. I did not take this picture, obviously. You can see it on the bottom, in the city of Iceland at the top. It faces the water. It faces the Norwegian Sea. And this is just a few pictures of from inside the aquarium. My favorite part of the aquarium actually was the outside. That is the Norwegian Sea that you see in the distance. On this side of that rock barrier is something they call a seal bay. And further in, where the little orange tower thingy is where they have, my mind just went blank, otters. Thank you, dear. Again, just a little close up of Seal Bay. There's a trainer out there feeding the seal and probably giving some information. And here's what they call Otter Island. Again, a trainer talking to the people, telling them about him. There's a couple of close-ups of the otters. Otters are not native to this area. They were actually brought in as part of a program to save them, basically. So they have a breeding program and have been able to take otters that they have grown, I guess you'd say, and ship them off to other places. They also have a home for the Humboldt penguins. Again, they're not native to Norway. These are from Chile and Peru. But again, it's part of a program to save them. The Humboldt was the most endangered of the penguins, and so they have this Humboldt penguin area where they're trying to save them. And again, sending them up part of a breeding program for Europe zoos and aquariums. And this shows just a little play area for the kids. That's water that's flowing through there and things for them to climb on. All right, so after the aquarium, we went up to Mount Osla. Yeah, Mount Osla. There's you can walk up, and on the left you can see the stairs. There's 418 steps up, therefore there's 418 steps down. We took a taxi up. Took a taxi up and down. And again, you can see the city in the distance in the picture on the right. And these are just a couple of pictures from the top. It was a very nice view. It was really very pretty. Okay. As I said, we took the taxi up and down. We also took the taxi to the aquarium. And one thing that we noticed after the fact was that every taxi fare was the same. I don't know what that was, whether we were just taking short enough rides that we were the minimum taxi fare or what it was, but everywhere we went in this town, the fare was exactly the same amount. Okay, this is, let me see if I can see this right. Uganstil Centre. Centre, yeah, Uganstil Centre, which just means Art Nouveau Center. It was an interesting place, kind of a strange place in a way. It had an odd combination of things on display. I had furniture, a lot of furniture, Art Nouveau type furniture, as well as collectible items in Art Nouveau part. And the two pictures on the bottom were in what they call the cube, which is more of an art center, but they are connected. This is a display of teeth, plastic dentures on posts. I don't know, there must have been 20 or 30 of them, all chattering away. Anyway, that's art. They were not saying anything. They were just, well, okay, actually, I don't think they were saying anything. Were they saying anything? They were just noise. Yeah, but anyway, that's art. Okay. The town is known for fishing. It is called the fishing capital of Norway. And so we went to the fishing museum. It's basically, it tells the story of the emergence of fishing and how it's shaped the city. And it's located in an area, you can tell by looking at the buildings, that survived the fire in 1904. So they're more the old wooden structures. One thing you could do at the museum was go out on the pier and tour the example fishing boats if they had docked. All right, so we spent basically one day in that town. So the next stop is a place called Geiranger, which is up a fjord. Okay, most of you know what a fjord is. It's a long, narrow passageway, very deep, sloping sides, formed by glaciers years and years ago. As the glaciers remove the earth, eventually when the glaciers start to melt, then those areas are filled with seawater, and you end up with these things, end up with the fjords. One thing I did find out in my research is that fjords are much deeper in the center parts than they are at the ends. So if you go to the area around the city, they're very shallow, much deeper in the middle. Yes. Yeah, it was, let me see if I missed all my notes here. It's not working. This is the town of Geiranger. It has a year-round population of about 200 people, 200 to 300 people. In the summer, when the cruise ships in, you can have a population of over 9,000 people. This is a picture of the harbor. It's a very pretty place, obviously. Because of that volume of people coming into the city, the government of Norway is considering putting pretty severe restrictions on it, trying to balance the economy of the city, of course, the environment, because they are concerned about, well, 9,000 people is a lot of people. Bringing in ships, those large ships, again, can do significant damage to the environment. So they are working on putting on fairly rigid restrictions. This is a picture of the dock. On the top left is the dock when it's up against the shore. This one is pretty cool. It could come out then as well on the right to meet the cruise ship. The other picture, the bottom left, is a ferry. One thing I learned after the fact is that there are lots of ferry lines in Norway. I guess that would be expected. That they are constantly running up and down all of the fjords. There's about 130 different ferry lines that go all the way up and down the coast. One thing I did find is you could have done everything we did by taking ferries. You could take a ferry along the coast, connecting each of these cities as far as up and down as far as you wanted to go, going up into the fjords at a fairly reasonable rate. I think the ferry from Alesund to Geiranger was about $60. There was a main stream that flowed into the city. And it was very pretty and also very loud. Okay. The main thing to do in this town is to take a bus trip up the mountain. Okay. So you can see the pictures. It's a very windy road. So we did take a bus trip. This is just a map to kind of show where we went. In the middle, you can see where it says start. That's the town. We went off to the right, up to the Dalsnibba viewpoint, and then back down to the Flydalsjuvent viewpoints. Again, just a couple of pictures going up the mountain. Notice the cairns that people have built, the rock towers that people have built. Some waterfalls, they were everywhere. Lots and lots of waterfalls coming down the hills. Okay, this is the view from the first stop, the Dalsnibba viewpoint. It's about 4,500 feet high, altitude-wise. And that picture is a picture back towards the town. I don't know if you can see it or not, but kind of in the middle is a little couple white things. That's our ship. Oh, okay. Pretty much right in the middle. Anyway, it was a beautiful place. Everywhere. I mean, the view up the mountain and back down the mountain was just truly amazing, beautiful. This is just a couple of pictures of the valley as we were coming down. Very green, very lush looking, and again, lots of water flowing. Okay, this kind of indicates or is an example of the crowding. This was at the lower viewpoint. There were really so many buses. It was a traffic jam, and people everywhere. Still, it was a really pretty view. But this is one of the things they're trying to resolve: is how do we keep it going, but yet solve this problem of 9,000 people a day coming into the city. Okay, this was the view from the lower viewpoint, back again towards the city and the fjord. Really, really pretty. And at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it or not, the bottom left corner, that little white there, that's the stream that eventually goes into the city that I showed you a few minutes ago. All right, so from there, we took the bus the other way up to something called Ingalls Bend. And these are some views from there. One of them on the left is looking back towards the city, and the one on the right was looking back the other way down the fjord. And as well as I know, that viewpoint is called the Ernstvigen viewpoint, which basically means, well, I had several translations. One of them said the translation is eagle's wing, eagle's nest, something to do with the eagle. We did not see any eagles. Okay, so we got back on the ship and headed out. And these are just a few pictures. We left around 5 in the evening of along the fjord. These are pictures of buildings, housing along the river, which around the fjord, which I thought were interesting. I don't know how those people get to the house up there on the left. They have quite a view. There is a house up there, yes, there is. They take a taxi, yeah. Could be. Okay, so waterfalls, they were everywhere. There are 3 waterfalls along this fjord that are, I guess, famous. One of them is called the Seven Sisters, and that's the one on the left. One is called the Suitor, and that's the one on the right. And the other one is called Bridal Veil, and I didn't get it because it was on the other side of the ship. And I'm pretty sure those are the Seven Sisters and the Suitor, but I'm not absolutely positive. But they were waterfalls. I mean, it was just amazing. The rivers, the waterfalls coming down into the fjord. And here's just a couple more. So anyway, it was getting dark as we were leaving. And so you can see, these are just pictures of us going on the fjord back towards the Norwegian Sea. Okay, the next stop was the town of Bergen. We arrived there the next day around 7 o'clock in the morning. And this is a view as we're entering the city or coming into the city. It's surrounded by mountains. In fact, the word Bergen means mountain. It's one of Europe's rainiest cities with about an average of 239 inches of rain every year. That's a lot of rain. We never took any of the cruise ships excursions. We did every city on our own. So here we decided to take a hop on, hop off bus, which worked really well. That's my wife and me, obviously, on the bus. One of the first places we went, it was called, was a castle. On the left is what's called the Rosenkrantz Tower. It was built around 1560 by the governor, and it's where he lived, basically. On the far right upper is something called Hawkins Hall. It was, again, built, well, it's even older. It was built in the 1247 to 1261. And the statue in the middle is of King Haakon VII. He was the first elected king of Norway. Yes, he was elected. He served starting in the early 1900s through like 1957. One thing they noted was that he refused, when the Germans took over, he refused to abdicate and basically led to Britain to maintain the government for Britain during the war. Anyway, this is a statue in his honor, and it overlooks the harbor. This is, see if I can pronounce this right, the Bergen Wharf. It was built in the 1200s. Well, actually, that's not true. It's more newer than that. It was part of the Hanseatic League, which existed from about 1241 up through into the 19th century. The word Breaking actually means the pier. And this is something you've probably seen. If you've seen any pictures of Norway, you've probably seen pictures of the pier. All right, so that's just another picture. On the left is a monument or a marker indicating this is a UNESCO site. They were everywhere we went. They were UNESCO sites. My wife likes to do pictures of the ground. She takes pictures of shadows. She takes pictures of rock formations. She takes pictures of, I mean, they're very interesting pictures. The two large ones are manhole covers, which I thought were very interesting. The one in the middle was just on a rock walkway. I scanned it to try to find out what it was, and according to Google, it's a crown and it marked the coronation route in Bratislava, Slovakia. I'm pretty sure that's not right. I don't know. That's what Google said. So you can't always trust Google. Anyway. Okay, so at this point, we really got off the hop on, hop off bus and just started walking. And we walked down this little park, lots of Boston City Park. It was really, really pretty. Lots of flowers, this big pond. And we had lunch at a little place right on the edge of the park, a little open restaurant. It was very nice. Just another picture of the park, more flowers. This is something called Code 1 with a K. Code with a K translate into English as code with a C. That's all I know. Again, it was just right next to the park. I thought it was a pretty building, so I took a picture. There is the artwork in the front. It's a sculpture dedicated to a Norwegian composer who I'm not going to try to pronounce. Okay, so we just walked around. So here's just a few pictures of the city, buildings in the city, houses in the city. It was really a very, very pretty place. We stumbled across the university by accident. And again, these are just a couple of statues in the park. The one on the left is in English called the Trickle Fountain. The one on the right is called a plain stone. Again, I don't know. Anyway, they're art. Again, wandering around, we came across this park, Neidsgard Parken, a public park. Again, really very pretty, lots of open areas, lots of people just enjoying the day out in the sun. Let's see, it was Nygard, which is the name, it's Nygard Park, was named literally after an area of the city, and it's translated into new farm or new yard in English. Okay, so back on the ship. We took off from there across the North Sea to our next stop in Amsterdam. The North Sea is considered to be a fairly dangerous sea, especially during the winter. It's much shallower than the Norwegian Sea, which can cause it to be much more violent, bigger waves. It's also an area that's much windier, and so we didn't experience that. I mean, in July when we went across, it was very smooth. It was great, very easy trip. And basically, it's defined by Norway on the north, England on the west, and Denmark, the Netherlands, and France on the south and the east. So Amsterdam was our next stop. It's the capital, and it's a very different place than the places we've been before. The rest, the previous places were all fairly small. Amsterdam is not. It has a population of around 1 million people in the city limits, and many more than that. Maybe finished 2.5 million in the area, metro area. It's known for its museums. The Van Gogh Museum has a lot of Rembrandts and Vermeers. The Rijksmuseum, and there's a modern museum, which I cannot remember the name of. This is the train station. This is Amsterdam Central Station. The picture on the left is the facade, the brick facade that was built around 1889. And on the back is the area where the tracks are. Obviously, it's been redone. It looks much more modern than that. It's actually built on over 8,000 wooden piles that were driven into a lake. The name of is called I Lake, which is spelled I-J. And the train station basically sits on those islands that were created based upon these 8,000 piers that were driven into the lake. Oh yeah, it's surrounded by water. Yeah. In fact, this right in front of it is part of the lake. You can take tours, cruises, river cruises or canal cruises, I guess you would say, starting right there. We did. Picture on the left is where we started our cruise. There are about 47 miles of canals with over 1,700 bridges in the city, the main part of the city. Just a few pictures of some things along the way. The upper one is it's called the Shipping House. It was built between 1913 and 1916 and was the headquarters for much of the shipping in that area. It's now a hotel. The one on the bottom is a museum. It's called the Nemo, and it's a science museum. And it's supposed to resemble the ship rising up out of the ocean, out of the water. And the top one is the headquarters. I can't. It's a travel company. And I would repair my notes, but I can't get the thing to work, so I'm not going to worry about that. It's a travel company based in Amsterdam, obviously. Again, these were just along the I Lake as we were heading towards the canals. The ship is the replica of the Dutch East India Company ship Amsterdam, which it was sunk on its maiden voyage in 1749. And it's parked in front of the National Maritime Museum. All right, here we are. The top picture is actually where you would enter the canal system from I Lake. The bottom on the left is an example of a bridge that crosses the canal and can open and close. And the one on the right is a gate that they can close to prevent flooding. These are just views along the canal. Lots of boats of all styles. And here you on the left, you can see some houses, basically, riverboats that people live in. They're permanently moored. And just a few more pictures of buildings. The canals were very interesting. One thing we ran into was a little parade. It seemed to be a parade anyway, of cars on the canal. And the bigger one on the right is actually that's a bar. They have a fully stocked bar on the boat, and it goes around the canals. I'm not sure exactly what this is. It's called the Amsterdam, I can't pronounce this. Basically, I mean, it's translated in the English into primal soup. But basically, it's a tunnel or an area that they have redone into an artwork. So we have these things on the bottom on the floor, these large tile, and then the ceiling has been painted. It's supposed to pay homage to Amsterdam's canals and features elaborate glass mosaics, terrazzo floors, and chandeliers made from discarded bike parts. It's art. A couple of the buildings. It really is a beautiful city. On the left is the Royal Palace. It basically is King William Alexander's official reception palace, where he receives people. The park in the front was closed off. They were preparing for a gay pride celebration. And the one on the right was the original post office, which is now a shopping center. And it was built around 1895. And as I said, they were preparing for Gay Pride Day. So there were flags, banners, basically throughout the city. And here's my wife standing on a bridge over the canal. She matches the flowers. And just another picture of a bridge. It was really a very pretty city. Again, that's one of the over 1,700 bridges along the canal. We went into the Vondel Park, which was right on the canal. It's a large park, about 120 acres. There were people just sitting on the grass, enjoying it. There were people walking dogs. Just a place to go relax in the middle of a very busy city. And then it was back to the ship. In the center is the back of the Amsterdam Central Station, the train station. On the left is a ferry boat. There were a lot of these ferry boats, which go back and forth, in some cases just back and forth across a river. You know, they dock on one side, take on people, go across the river, dock again, empty out, reload, and go back across. So they don't have bridges across the rivers. They have these ferries that go back and forth. That's all they do, back and forth, all day long. Picture, oh, that's the next slide, excuse me. This is a picture of the lock system. Amsterdam is below sea level, somewhere between 3 and 6 feet below sea level. So it's protected by a very complex dock system. And we had to go through the dock to get out of the city. So here you can see we are in the dock, and the dock is closing. And once it's closed, anyway, once it's closed, they raise the water level 3 to 6 feet, depending on what needed, and you can sail out into the North Sea. All right, next stop is Bruges. Bruges does not sit; it's not on the ocean. It's a little ways in. The port is the port of Zeebrugge, where we docked. We had to take a bus to get into the city. So once we were parked, the bus was parked. You get off the bus, and in order to get into the city of Bruges, you have to walk across this bridge, and there we are, Glad and me, ready to go across, and Richard and Vicky, our traveling companions, ready to go into the city of Bruges. These are just pictures of flowers that were everywhere when you came across the bridge. These probably are my favorite pictures. The one on the right, excuse me, the one on the left is a bridge that you would go across to actually enter the city. The one on the right was taken from the bridge looking back across the lake. It's just an amazingly pretty place. All right. Basically, Bruges is known as the Venice of the North. It's built on a canal system. So we took a canal tour. Those are just some pictures of various things along the canal. The upper right is a home. People's houses right on the canal, and they go out and sit on their little deck and enjoy the water. The picture on the lower middle is all the people waiting on the canal tours. It was a very busy place, as you might expect. Just a few more pictures along the canal. Okay. Bruges, or maybe Belgium in general, is known for its waffles and its fries with mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, yes. If you go to Belgium, you have to buy fries and eat them with mayonnaise. Their mayonnaise and our mayonnaise are not the same. I don't know what the difference is, but their mayonnaise is amazing, and they eat it with French fries. That was amazing. It was very good. So if you go, make sure you stop in and get some fries and mayonnaise. They're also known for their chocolate. So the swan on the right is chocolate. There were some 50 different chocolate shops in the city of Bruges, and it's not a big city. The one on the left is us getting ready to have lunch at the little open air stand. There was a small seating area where we could sit and watch, overlook the canal as we had lunch. The one in the middle is just, again, an open air cafe. This is the Church of Our Lady. It's Roman Catholic. It's the third tallest brickwork church tower in the world, according to Google. The picture on the left, upper is the pulpit. On the lower left is the baptismal font. While we were there was someone playing the organ. Okay, from there we walked to Market Square. It's lined with businesses, shops, restaurants, and people. Yeah. The image on the left is called the Belfry of Bruges. You can climb that if you wish, 366 steps to go to the top for a wonderful view. We did not do that. On the right is something called the Provincial Court, and it's the government seat for West Flanders, which is where Bruges sits. We did go into it, and these pictures are just a few from inside that building. It was really, amazing place. The bottom picture on the right is a carving on some of the chairs, and the upper right is on the walls, supporting some of the beam structures. Anyway, we just had one day in Bruges, so that's about all we had time to see. And so here we are with Vicki and Richard walking back across the bridge, heading for the bus. This was our second trip to Bruges. We took one there several years ago. We were in Brussels and we took a train trip. And I would go back again. It's truly an amazing place. It largely survived the Second World War because the German commander that was over that area refused orders to destroy it. He was told, that they should destroy the city when they were withdrawing, and he refused to do that, and so the city was saved. All right, so back on the ship, we headed for England. So this is just a picture of the cliffs of Dover from the other side at night. So it's not very clear. All right, that's it. Questions? Okay, what is this picture of? What is this picture of? Well, it was taken from our veranda on the ship, looking down. I'm not sure if we used a flash or not, but basically it captured the birds and the wake from the ship, and the whole background became just solid gray looking. I mean, it's an interesting picture, and I don't know how it happened. You have a question? Yes. Okay, how much chocolate did we eat? I don't know that we had all that much chocolate. Did we buy any chocolate? Pardon? 10 pounds? Anyway, I don't know.
Just entranced by the chocolate.
Well, okay, we buy Belgian chocolate by the bag at home. So we always have Belgian chocolate at home. So come by sometime and you can have some. Other questions? Other questions? It was somewhere around, it wasn't huge. It wasn't as big as many of them are. I think there were maybe 3,500 people on it. Does that sound about right? No, it was big. Yeah, it was big, but it wasn't one of the 6,000 or 7,000 or whatever. They currently have a restriction of no more than 4 cruise ships a day, no more than 6,000 people on a cruise ship. But if you got 4 with 6,000 people, that's 24,000 people. The ships also have to have their own powers, so they're not burning fuel while they're parked. They have to have another power source. There's no dumping of any waste in the canal at all. I mean, in the fjord at all. They have to have some sort of special fuel that burns cleaner than, I guess, others. And they're going to put many more restrictions on it in the next few years. I think in 32, they're going to put some pretty stringent restrictions on it, just because, well, you can imagine, in a town of 200 people, having 9,000 people show up, it's a lot of lunches. I don't think we ate that day. Did we eat that day? Any other questions? One thing I might say is cruises are really nice. You can go to a lot of places. It's easy. You unpack once, they take you around, you can go see things. But the restriction or the problem is time. You only have a few hours, from morning to evening to see a city. And in some cases, that's okay. In some cases, I feel like we saw Geiranger pretty well in one day. But Amsterdam, no. I mean, we just barely touched Amsterdam. We didn't go into any of the museums. There just wasn't time. And the same way with anything like that. You just kind of get the highlights. If you really want to see it, you got to be able to spend more time. And frankly, you could go to Norway and never take a cruise ship. I think it mentioned the ferry lines go everywhere. So just go to Norway and rent a car and take the ferries, and you can spend as much time as you want wherever you want to go. Fly. I'm sorry. I'm really not sure. I don't know if there's any direct flights to Oslo or not. I wouldn't be surprised if there are, but not yet through England. Yeah. All right. I guess that's it. Thank you for coming.